Welcome to this episode of Sacred Space with Sonia. I'm your host, Sonia Sanger, and today's guest is Melanie Phillips. She is a multifaceted healer. She is also a spiritual mentor, and she is a clinical Ayurvedic specialist. She is someone that I met actually through my sister, who had been to one of her retreats and talked to me about her profound ability to connect with people and really help them connect back to themselves and find their power. And that really is what this conversation is going to be about the healing that each of us need to do individually so that we can heal the collective at a larger scale. So without any further ado, let's welcome Melanie.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Thanks so much for being here. I gave a quick introduction about you, but tell me about what's lighting you up right now and the work that you're most passionate about.
When I follow the thread through everything, I think it's been the same from the beginning. It's rooted in freedom, liberation, or moksha, we would say in Vedantic studies. And that has been something that's been alive inside of me since a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, the surrender to that has been what's taken me to India to study all sorts of different healing modalities, Ayurveda. All of these things are connected to either freedom or me feeling the lack of freedom in my life and the quest for having that experience that I believe is possible for all of us in this human form.
Yeah, and you've had a beautiful journey, like you said, that's taken you to different places in the world. Where would you say your spiritual journey began?
The first time that I was fully conscious of it actually was in Banff. I came and it was the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
It was the mountains. I had literally like a spiritual experience seeing these mountains. And I grew up in Ontario, so it was really the first time that I not only seen mountains, but was experiencing them. And that touched me really deeply. And that soul ignition around mountains, around travel, around seeing new places and new things took me on many different journeys. And one of them was to New Zealand. And on that journey, I was there for about 9 months, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of very interesting interactions and occurrences happened that when I look back now, I'm like, oh, there's like these spiritual awakenings and layers of self-actualization. Just thin layers.
Mm-hmm.
Thin layers.
Yeah, maybe little like breadcrumbs almost, taking you further and further into your soul's calling.
Yeah, and I think at that age, I must have been early 20s. I was quite open. And I was traveling. So I listened. I really followed those impulses and nudges and synchronicities. And that's what did land me in an ashram type place, or a retreat center in the South Island of New Zealand. And it was there that I met a Swami who invited me to go to the Bihar School of Yoga the following year to do a yogic studies program. And that's what got me to living at the Bihar School of Yoga in an ashram for 6 months that following fall.
Mm-hmm.
And that really was without a doubt a huge shift in my life, in my experience and everything that I had known.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that would have felt for you, someone growing up in Canada, not really being accustomed to the culture and then suddenly being transplanted there. I mean, I've been to India before and it can be a culture shock just for me, even though I know the language and I'm familiar with the customs. So, 6 months, that's a long time. And I understand one of the things you did was you had your head shaved?
Yes. Well, my hair shaved.
Sorry, your hair shaved. Yeah.
Yeah, to the skull.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? It wasn't a culture shock. I had zero culture shock.
That's interesting.
I remember being in the airplane, landing on the tarmac in Delhi, and I was looking out the window, flying into Delhi. I didn't know where I was going to go. This was before cell phones. I had spoken to a friend, and they were supposed to have a friend of a friend that I could stay at for the 2 nights in Delhi, but I had not had confirmation of that. So I was literally knowing when I got off this plane, I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. But I was looking out the window down on the landing strip, and there were women dressed in the most colorful, beautiful saris, carrying bricks on their head. They were doing construction at the airport on the landing strip. It was so surreal and beautiful. And I had the feeling and the knowing, I was like, I'm home.
Ah.
I'm home.
Mm.
And so India never felt like a culture shock, oddly enough. And then when I began taking participants on retreats to India, they were having the culture shock. And I then was kind of woken up to like, oh, this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very different way. And a lot of participants struggled with seeing the poverty, the noise,
Mm-hmm.
the smells, the sounds, all of what
Yeah.
India brings. I never had that.
Well, that's amazing. I guess you had some soul remembrance there, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It was just so clear to me.
Yeah.
Even at that young age, just like, oh, I've been here before. I've been here so many times.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about the sounds and the smells in India that also take me back to an ancient place, an ancient remembering. And, it all will unfold. Maybe I'll get more details in the years ahead, but I felt a bit of that as well. And then you were going to yoga school. You eventually, you had your yoga teacher training eventually, and you came to Canada at some point, right?
It was not a yoga teacher training.
Okay.
It was a yogic studies course. And what I loved about this is that this 6-month course is, in my perspective, far superior than any yoga teacher training you could take, because you were living it. We were studying. We had 3-hour exams. And I've taught yoga teacher training for many years.
Mm-hmm.
But this was an immersive experience that went so deep into the philosophy, into the wholeness, the whole picture of what yoga was. When I left and went to India, I thought, oh, it's the physical. We have the asana, the pranayama, the meditation. It blew my mind in the experience of that. So I've never done a yoga teacher training. I've been teaching over 26 years. I've taught at Vancouver College here for 7+ years in a yoga teacher training program. I've never had a teacher training.
Amazing. Well,
I know.
No, but I mean, you learn from masters already. So, I mean, whether you have a certificate or not, it really doesn't matter. If you know your stuff, you know your stuff.
Yeah.
But that experience for you, how do you felt it changed you?
In so many ways. As you had brought up before, I did have my hair shaved completely off. That came to me in a dream. And I woke up. This was in the ashram. And the next morning, I said, I need to go. There was a man that would come to the ashram once a week or every couple of weeks or something. He would have his little razor blade. You'd give him 10 rupees and you'd sit on the ground and he would shave your hair. And my hair was down to here. So he had some rusty scissors that he hacked away at it first and then right to the skull. And it was quite amusing because people in the ashram didn't recognize me. They were kind of like, oh, who are you? And
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a real transformation, not just shaving of the head, what that represented. I received my spiritual name, Madhuri. At that time, I received spiritual initiation. I think it really opened my heart to a sense of devotion that I'd had as a child glimpses of through different forms, but it really felt like that connection, just that channel opened up for me.
Like stepping into a new version of yourself or maybe reconnecting with what was already there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it felt like a new version, and it felt like something I wasn't consciously seeking. I wasn't going to India to find my guru or to reinvent myself or transform myself. It was very organic in that sense. It was just the knowing of, oh, this is the next correct thing for me to do. Shave my head, take the initiation, do the thing. It was very much felt experience, not my logical brain. I wasn't like, oh, what are my parents going to think when I
got it? So like very intuitive then.
Very intuitive.
Okay.
And I didn't question myself around it.
Well, that's incredible. And I think that takes a lot of trust to be able to do that.
It must have. Like, I look back now because sometimes I can even have more wavering in certain decisions later on and more adultness in my life, but I was tapped into something
Mm-hmm.
there. It really opened up a different energetic field.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that kind of changed the entire trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
And obviously many years have passed since then, and you are also an energy healer. There's many layers to what you're doing. You don't necessarily have to go through every step of, how you became who you are today. But what would you say was most impactful in your journey?
My previous partner's suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that. I wasn't sure I know you've written a book about it and going deep into grief and how it impacted you. When that moment struck, take me through how it impacted you.
Gosh, so many ways. I think, first of all, the initial shock, I always hesitate to say this because I feel like there's already judgment on top of, or what it means, or who that person is that kills themselves. And what I can say from my experience and with my previous partner, there was so much light within him. He was very perfectionistic and type A personality, but had no known mental illness or depression. And I had spoken to a medium actually after his death, and she didn't know him at all. She didn't even know me. She said there was like a switch, like a switch got kind of flipped.
Mm.
And that felt very accurate to me. It felt like something went skewy.
Had he been open with you about anything he was struggling with?
There were some struggles and layering on top and culminating, but he was the kind of person who was the cheerleader for everyone and Mr. Positive. And so it was just, yes, it was a lot to navigate, but never would I have ever fathomed that he would have taken his life.
Mm-hmm. And that took you on a journey where you started writing.
Yes. Well, and I had written before that. I have a book on Ayurveda and yoga. So that was published the year before. So I had already had that call of that mercurial part of me that wants to write. And however, after his death, I was given instruction to write. It was literally 2 weeks later. It was like, oh, you're going to write a book on this. Oh gosh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And then it took another maybe year or two to actually sit down and write it, because I was grieving, I was mourning, I was processing a lot. And then there was a point in time where I was getting woken up at around like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just started writing, and that's how it came to be.
Mm-hmm.
I thought my mind was saying, oh, I'm going to go to Bali. So I booked a trip to Bali, and I flew off to Bali, and I'm going to go write my book there, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Sounds so divine. I had another initiation in Bali where I ended up in the hospital there, had a crazy salmonella poisoning, and wasn't sure if I was going to leave Bali ever. It was very intense.
Okay. What was it that you wanted to share in the book? And I'm sure that probably unfolded as you were writing, because it's a cathartic experience to write, especially about something as traumatic as losing your partner.
Mm-hmm.
But what was that thread, that message that you wanted to share with people?
Well, one thing, when I began to write it, I realized that grief isn't just the big things. It's not just like the death or even the divorce, which I've been through as well. But it's not just grieving someone dying. And when I looked back through my life, I was like, oh, the grief around loss of innocence, the grief around my parents' divorce and what that meant, the grief around doing my Bachelor of Fine Arts and Contemporary Dance and getting injured in my final year so bad that I couldn't dance. There was all of these grievances that never really get talked about, and I'm sure the audience will have their own version of things. We don't have rituals in our culture, we don't have ceremony, we don't have rites of passage in the way that most ancient cultures have had or still do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a real disservice because we are going through these initiations. We're literally getting initiated in so many ways. And if we don't have a way to alchemize that energy, then it gets stuck, it gets blocked, and that's what can create dis-ease or disease. So that one recognition that there's so much grief that we don't acknowledge as grief.
Mm. Can you be more specific?
As an Ayurvedic practitioner, people come and share so much with me, an energy healer. The amount of women who have been through abortions, rape, loss of a child, divorce. I think the loss of innocence,
Mm-hmm.
of losing our childhood and stepping into adulthood.
Yeah. And having all the things that life hits us with, right? These cataclysmic events that change the trajectory of what we thought was going to happen.
Yes.
And, you mentioned the loss of a child, and that for me is what propelled me on my healing journey. And it's something I've shared before and I've talked openly about, but having a miscarriage for me was obviously so painful, but such a blessing at the same time, because it helped me reframe the way I was looking at my life.
Yes.
And just at gratitude in general. And so much gratitude that I have for everything in my life, the good and the bad, because it's those, as you know, it's those moments that bring you to your knees that really make you who you are.
Yes. Absolutely. And as you point out, the loss of the future that we think we're going to have needs to be grieved. That for me, I think, was the biggest pain of the suicide of my previous partner, was the loss of what I thought our life was going to be, the kids we were going to have,
The dream.
the grandkids, the loss of the dream. It's very painful. It's very painful to be confronted with that in such a finite way. I was like, he's not coming back. Like, it's done. And then the helplessness and the hopelessness that surrounds something like that.
Yeah. You, when talking about ritual, you brought up the word alchemize or alchemy. Was writing the book a way for you to alchemize or transmute that energy of grief into something that you could share in a positive way? Is that what you mean by alchemizing?
I think anytime we transmute energy, it's an alchemization. And I don't know if I was consciously thinking, I'll write a book and then I can, help other people with this. I think that's part of what my soul does here. I take my challenges, my initiations, I do alchemize them, and then I share, like, hey, this is what I've learned. Maybe it will help you as well. Maybe it will support you as well.
It takes a lot of courage, though, to open up your heart in that way. But obviously, it's led you to where you are today. And there was one thing that you shared with me also about grief, and I want to ask you about that, because sometimes grief can make you feel like a victim, or people can use that word, victimized by such and such. How do you look at it now? And did that word trigger you at the time?
Yes, that word triggered me. I also related to it at the time. I did feel like a victim. Like, how is this? How is this my life? How is this happening? And it was a counselor at the time had suggested, oh, well, you can go to a victim of suicide support group. And to me, that seemed so counterproductive to my own personal healing. And I'm not judging what anyone does and how they move through grief, because I think it is very individualized and we do have to do it in a way that feels correct for us. But I didn't want to go and sit in a room of people grieving. I wanted to alchemize it. I didn't want to regurgitate it.
You wanted to move through it.
Yes, I wanted to move through it. And there was a process in the very beginning where I was in regurgitation. And I think that's a part of sort of a traumatic experiences where we keep talking about it, keep talking about it, keep talking about it. But there comes a point, and I know in some traditions, some native traditions, they say you have 3 days to grieve, essentially, and you get it out and you do it all. Now, I don't know if I subscribe to that. It seems like we have the process that we have the time that it takes to move the energy. But for me, I really felt like I need to do this differently. this has to be a radical right-hand turn
Mm,
from what we've been told your outcome is when something bad happens to you.
mm.
I was really committed to not living out that victimized energy.
And so what did that look like for you? And I guess how did you use that to empower yourself?
It was a process. It's like training. It was like training for the mental emotional Olympics, so
Yeah.
to speak. I would literally, I write about this in the book. I have tools in that book. It's a how-to. And I wish in a way, I hadn't made the focus grief, because it's actually a book about resiliency.
Mm,
Uh, one of the processes derived from Abraham Hicks's work is you find a better feeling thought. So it's not pretending like, oh, my life is so great and everything is fine, when I'm like, no, it is not. But to find a thought that feels just a little bit better,
mm.
and then a little bit better, and then a little bit better. So for me, in the deepest depths of it, there was no good thoughts. There was no silver lining on the cloud.
Yeah.
It looked like and felt like inevitable hell. I didn't know how I was going to ever not feel grief. And that soul part, because that's the only way I can describe that deeper part that on some level knew like everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I began practicing moment by moment, thought by thought. I'd lie down at my pillow on my bed at night, and the horrendous thoughts and memories and projections of the future and how awful and all these things would come up, and I would have to come back to presence. I would have to come back to my head is on the pillow, my sheets are over my body, and then the horrible thoughts would come again, and then I'd go back to presence. I'd go back to breath. I'd go back, and it was literally that painstaking of a process to rewire the neural pathways, to reorient my sense of safety, my sense of reality, and my sense of self.
That is a difficult process, painstaking for sure. How long would you say you were in that place until you felt lighter? Or maybe it never really.
It's hard to say. I had a session from a practitioner at the time who did something called theta healing. And this was maybe 3 weeks after his death.
Oh.
Very, very raw.
Mm-hmm.
I remember after that theta healing session, coming out and like being able to smile. And my brother and my dad were there, and I felt light. I felt clear. I felt open. And I went on to become a theta healing practitioner myself because of that experience and my experience with it. And theta healing helps us to rewire the subconscious. And that's the part that most people will struggle with any physical disease, mental, emotional disturbance, is the subconscious. If we don't work at that level, it's very difficult. Our conscious mind is 5% approximately of what motivates our life. So that 95% that is subconscious, it's in the background, it's propelling us forward.
But we don't pay any attention to it.
We don't know. We just think that's who we are. We think that's what reality is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we feel bad about ourselves, or we think, oh, I'm not good enough, or I could never do that because, or this is wrong with me, or that's not good enough about me. And we just accept that as who we are. And it's not. Those belief systems, those thoughts are literally not even our programs. They get programmed, they get passed down generation to generation. Society, media, the whole world programs us until we wake up, until we go, wait a second, I'm not a program. I get to be in conscious choice. So if we're not in conscious choice, we're only in a program.
And I guess, when we talk about healing, I think a lot of people, maybe if before I was, I don't want to say before I was awake, and no, before I was awake, while I was still asleep, I guess you could say, I didn't really understand what people meant by healing. Like, healing what? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And I realize now that healing is healing back to your true self, your essence, and stripping back the layers of the conditioning, of the programming, of the life that we are born into, that we think fits in this box. And then so is the healing the process of looking out of the box?
I'd say the healing is actually a remembering. Ultimately, on one level, there's nothing to heal because we are whole and complete here and now. It's only their perception that makes us believe that there's something to heal. And that's the perception of separation. And that's the root cause of all dis-ease, is forgetting our true nature as spirit. We buy in and believe in that separation. And when we operate from separation, it is scary to feel separate, to feel like, oh, it's all on me.
Mm-hmm.
And we call that stress, right? We call that stress.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, I have to pay my bills and my mortgage and my car payments, and I have to figure this out. And oh my gosh, this, and we get into the small ego mind, the wounded ego, me, I, and we forget that we are actually connected and supported by the energy of creation, the energy that is keeping this whole thing moving.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's difficult, though, for people that might be disconnected to even accept that they are disconnected? Because how can you, you have to almost go through your own awakening, or whatever that thing looks like for you, whatever that rug is that gets, and not necessarily that has to happen to everyone for them to awaken, but that is often how people awaken.
Yes.
Is there any other way that you would explain it to someone, or that you could get them to, what am I trying to say exactly? I think what I'm trying to say is the people that often might need the most healing are not the ones that are asking for help.
Yeah. And so that's okay.
Yeah. Everyone has their own time, their own journey, and we can be there to support them. But for those that are wanting to heal, that maybe they are dealing with grief, maybe it's something they haven't processed, or they're processing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of guidance would you offer?
Don't do it alone. You're entitled to how you grieve. There's no right or wrong way, and things can change, and they will change. And you are bigger than the situation. You're bigger than the situation that you are in, no matter how horrendous it may be. And I know that is difficult to hear when we're in the middle of the situation, but in my experience, that's true. We will never endure something that our soul can't handle, and on some level has said, yes, I want to have this experience so that I can learn the virtues of compassion or forgiveness or empowerment or whatever we came here to experience. We need the contrast for that.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, there's no victimization, only opportunity.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's difficult in the moment, obviously, right? Yes. But if you stick with it and you do the work, however difficult it might be, like you said, you will get through it. There's always that, I don't want to say rainbow or whatever. There's a brighter future ahead. And I know for myself, with the grief that I've dealt with, up until this point, it holds a much lighter space for me. And I don't think it ever really leaves you. It's still there. It doesn't consume me anymore.
Right. Our relationship to it changes. Our relationship to the grief and to those experiences changes. And the more that we operate from our wholeness, not the fragmented parts, the angry part, the part that betrays, that, we betray ourselves, or the fearful part, the more that we operate from our wholeness, then the more we are just oriented to perceiving differently. So it's layers of, or levels of consciousness, not a hierarchy, not good, bad, but layers and levels of awareness.
Yeah. I kind of think of it like if you peel back layers of an onion, right? It's like the further you go, the more perspective you have. And then at each level, you learn something else. And I think the further I go, I feel like I know nothing.
100%. We start off thinking, oh, we learn this thing, or we learn a technique, and I know this, and I know how the world's going to be. No. You will always be humbled.
Yeah.
You will always be reminded that we're not in charge, ultimately, and that we are held, ultimately.
Yeah. And, one of the things that you have shared that you're really passionate about is getting back to that connection with self, and reminding people of that connection that they have, that is always there. What are some ways that you assist people in getting back to that space?
Yeah, thank you. I love this question. I love this so much because I feel like that's my work in this world is to, in Ayurvedic language, we would say, returning to your true nature. And that's what the system, the modality of Ayurveda does often from a health perspective. And my greater understanding of Ayurveda is we don't just look at the body, we look at the psycho, emotional, and spiritual components. So guiding people back to their true nature, to who they came on this planet to be, from a soul level, from a soul signature, if you will. That there's a vibration that is just unique to you, that is just unique to me. And if we're not in that vibrational tone of our true essence, we're not bringing our medicine. And each of us have a unique medicine. So clearing the distortion, or sometimes I call it the non-self behavior, the non-self identity, and returning to who we actually are, aligning, coming into our personal power, I believe is really why we're here. And period. That's why we're here. And so I facilitate people through mentorship, through retreats, through workshops, through my online programs to return them to themselves so that they're no longer externalizing their power to the government, to money, to circumstance, to situations.
To ego.
Primarily, right? But that they are coming back and reclaiming the power that is within them, that has never been absent, that is here now, no matter what they're thinking and believing. That essence cannot be destroyed. It cannot be tainted. It is pure and true. So when we clear off the clutter, when we clear the veils of illusion, essentially, all the misunderstandings we have about ourselves, well, I'm not good enough here, and oh gosh, my life should be different because of this or that, whatever narrative we're telling ourselves, when we come back to wholeness, that whole inner narrative shifts, and we get to work by consciously choosing the inner narrative. What do I want to be hearing in my background noise all day long? Because I can tell you, if you're not consciously choosing it, the old story is just playing out, and that's mostly negative. It's based in fear, lack, scarcity, inadequacy. It's based in fear. It's that reptilian brain.
It's the egoic mind that holds on. And I think most people, and there's times I didn't know I was living in my egoic mind. I didn't know I was living in that state because it is so self-consuming. But we are not our thoughts. So, you can, when you say, if you're not conscious of your thoughts, you really kind of let this train run away on you. So how do you stop it? How do you say, nope, I'm not going to go there?
Yeah.
Do you just replace the thought with, like you said, something that feels more true, feels better?
Well, there's so many different layers that I can answer this question. The first, what I'm going to say is awareness is the first portal to healing, all healing. If we're not aware, we don't even, like you say, we don't even know there's something to look at. We don't even know we're disconnected. We don't even know. So awareness, number one. And then that willingness, number two. We need awareness and we need the willingness. What you said of just like, well, stop. Like sometimes we can use that. We can just use stop and really speak to ourselves, be our own best friend, and never let thoughts go through the screen of our mind that aren't the kind of thoughts that we would speak to someone that we love or care about, or a small child in pain. If we're speaking to ourselves in any other way than that, that is the wounded ego talking. It's not here to help us. It's here to perhaps protect us, but it has a really funny way of doing that. So yeah, we can literally say stop and then choose a better feeling thought, or come back to the body, take a breath. The breath is coming in, the breath is going out. Asking the question, this comes from a spiritual teacher, Byron Katie, but she says, other than what you're thinking and believing, is everything okay? Because I could be sitting here right now and torturing myself in my mind from where my attention is going. So where our attention goes is where our energy flows. Where our attention goes, that's our identity.
I think when you are able to look at your thoughts from an observer standpoint, it really changes everything, because I think most people don't pay attention to that narration that is constantly happening. It takes over, and it can be this really annoying little voice
Yeah.
that tells you all these horrible things that are not true at all.
It's really mean.
It is. It is. And you know, even though I am aware, I still do it. It still happens.
Yes.
But now I have the awareness to be able to stop it and to choose my thoughts differently.
Yeah. And that's worth celebrating. I get my clients a lot. It's like, let's celebrate that instead of going, oh gosh, I should know better. And oh, why am I still thinking those thoughts or going down that same pattern? No, I've become aware.
Yeah.
I can see it now. It no longer has power over me, no longer has control over me because I'm aware of it.
I think it is self-talk is so, so important. The relationship we have with ourselves and what it can determine what we will and won't do in our life. And it can determine how, I guess, quote unquote, successful you will be, however you define success for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Speak to me about the importance of connecting with that and being aware of that self-talk.
It's everything. That is your life. Your narrative is your reality. It's everything. And it's not fixed. You know, even their science is proving out with neuroplasticity, it's like, it's not fixed. Our identity is not fixed. Those thoughts, not ours. We have about 60 to 80,000 of them a day, and they're the same ones we had the day before, the day before, the day before. It's just a tape that's playing. I often maybe age myself with this metaphor, but it's like putting in a cassette tape, and you put it on your Duran Duran tape in, you put it in, and you start playing, and you're like, oh wait, I wanted to hear Cyndi Lauper. Well, but that's not what's on the tape.
Yeah.
So you're only going to get out what's on that tape until you press pause, eject that tape cassette, take it out, put in the Cyndi Lauper tape, and then you can press play and listen to Cyndi Lauper. The same thing is in our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't like the tape that's playing because it is just an old program running in the background, we have to pause, stop. What do I want to be thinking? How do I want to be feeling? We have the creative potentiality and power to feel any way we want right now, regardless of circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I could start asking you about the most horrible things that have happened in your life. I could have you in tears in 5 minutes, I'm sure. And conversely, we could start focusing on the most beautiful things that have happened in your life and the things that you're most grateful for. There's a different vibration in where we're putting our attention. But we're both just sitting here in a chair. Nothing is really happening other than our mind is a time traveler, a space traveler.
Yes.
It's like we're going back and forth through time. We're making up. Even our memories are made up. They're not 100% accurate.
Totally. And you can go back and do meditations with your inner child and heal moments that were very damaging for you.
Yes.
And you can rewire it, like you said, with that neuroplasticity. Obviously, it takes time and practice to do that, but that's an example of one way that you can.
Yes, we can literally go back and heal a moment in time. We're back or forward.
I think for myself, when I really got deep into spirituality after I did my Reiki certification, that's when it became really, really clear to me how important that inner voice was, how important every thought, every word that I spoke, not just out of my mouth, but in my head.
Yes.
And to really clean house, like scrub myself down from the inside out. Because to me, I might, if I speak beautiful thoughts, that's great. But if I'm not thinking them as well, they mean nothing.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way about that?
Yeah, I believe speaking them is that's that first step. Often, and when I work with people, I'll hear the language they use, and that gives me a really big indicator of what they're thinking or like what their identity is. Because we often speak what we've spoken before. It's just coming out, which is fine. But it's going to tell us where our consciousness is at. So yeah, words are important, but the energy behind them is most important. And to have those things harmonized is when we can really come into our power. That's when we can really harness the energy of life that is naturally wants to flow through us. It can't flow through us if we're in distorted thinking. So distorted thinking is I'm not enough, I'm separate, I'm not good enough. And that can come up in all sorts of ways. It might not sound like that in our mind. It might sound like, well, how can I do that? Or I can't afford it. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. It might not sound negative. It might just sound true. And I put that in like little air quotes because we can say things that most people will agree with, like it's really hard to make money, or you have to work really hard to make money. Most people are like, oh yeah, you have to work really hard to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all kind of go, yeah, you have to work really hard to make money. But the truth is, there's a lot of people on this planet not working hard and making billions of dollars. And there's some people on this planet working, doing manual labor, making $1 a day,
Mm-hmm.
like the least amount of money. So it doesn't even make sense.
Yes, completely. And it's like, what is the difference between the person that is hardly working and making more money than they need, and the person who is working themselves to the bone and not getting ahead?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a mystery. I don't know all the answers, right? But I think a lot of it might have to do with belief in self and what you have been raised to believe, or maybe molded to believe.
Yeah. And a lot of what we've been raised to believe is detrimental. It's not limitless, it's limited. And so we live in limited lives, believing things that aren't necessarily true. So I'm most interested in stepping outside of the box. I'm really shifting into like, what is the limitless life that you can create and live for yourself? Like, why not? Why wouldn't we do that? Yes, it can feel a little bit terrifying to the ego when we start having to take different actions that go against our programming.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a threat. It can feel terrifying because we're like, well, now I don't know how it's going to go.
But then when you take the step and it gets validated, there's no other feedback like that.
Yeah.
when you take the step and think, okay, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna work on my vibration. I'm gonna work on the energy that I am emitting, on the thoughts that are coming up in my mind, and the words that I'm sharing. Try it out for a week. Like, really put in the effort. See what happens to the way people react around you.
Yeah.
You're smiling.
Well, everything is energy. I just love what you're saying, because everything is energy. And when we really get out of the 3D materialistic sense, our only sense of understanding, and when we see that this is all just vibrating, or maybe we don't see it because we've been conditioned not to see that. We've been conditioned to believe only in the 5 senses, and I'll believe it when I see it instead of I'll believe it and then I'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it can sound a little bit like Pollyanna and like woo-woo. It's science, it's physics, it's neuroscience. This is now being proven. The very things that the yogis have known for thousands of years, science is now saying, oh yeah, this is actually how this reality works.
I think North American culture just in general is, so narrow, because you look at, I feel like I've always had my foot in both cultures, in Eastern, like Indian culture and Eastern religion and philosophy, and also growing up here in North America. And so looking at the way our culture operates, there's many things as a child I maybe shunned, like, oh, Mom, don't make me have this turmeric, this and that, because like, because like, that's just like, oh, so like Indian, and like, it's so old and wrong, and so I did shun it for many years of my life. Now I look at it with a completely renewed sense of like wonder, and like, oh my goodness, for thousands of years, people have been practicing all of these different modalities, whether it's Ayurveda or yoga or Buddhism or, all different cultures. And there is so much wisdom in it. And I think it's really interesting. I think more and more people are opening up to it, and there are a lot of people that are open to it. But when it comes to their day-to-day life, they're actually not letting in that light.
And that's the embodiment piece. So we move now, and now is the age we need to move beyond the conceptual, the theoretical, and move into the integrated and the embodied. I really believe that. Enough of this sort of spiritualized idea of things, and then not living in integrity with that or in accordance with that. And I speak to so many good-hearted spiritual people, but that are living in fear, that aren't really believing in abundance, or aren't really believing in they can do it, or they're scared to be visible, or scared to step into what they're really here to do. So there's a contradiction there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do we really believe that we're supported by this energy that created everything or not?
I do. I really do. I really, really do. And I want to share a story because it came up as we were talking about embodiment. And one of the things and I've shared this story privately. I don't think I've shared it on the podcast yet. But after I did my Reiki certification, it just blew my mind to what intention and energy is everything. Like, wait a minute. If that's the truth, then I'm going to move mountains because I can just switch that flip in my head and think, no, I'm going to think the most amazing things going forward. I'm going to send love to everyone who needs it, whether they want it or not. And I remember asking my Reiki teacher, can I just send people love? And he was like, well, I guess, like, as long as the intention is rooted in unconditional love, then yeah, why not? Mm-hmm. So when I went back to work in 2022, after I'd had both my kids, did the Reiki certification, it was a really nerve-wracking time for me. The pandemic had just happened. And every morning for the first few months when I came back to work, I would envision my heart opening up and sending love, like beaming out of my heart through the television into the camera lens and, through your television at home. And I visualized it, and I felt it as well. And the way people reacted was unlike, I didn't expect it. I had no expectation of it. It was just something I was doing. But people, my colleagues, viewers, they just opened up to me in a way that they hadn't before. And I got so many messages from people saying, like, just lovely messages, or like, you seem happier. Like, what's happening? Like, your energy is so magnetic, or whatever the word is that they would use. And sometimes I would share with them what I'd been doing, and sometimes I wouldn't. But, when you're reading the news and you're reading really heavy stories and sharing people's pain, for me, it's also really important to share love with people.
Yes.
And to give that horrible news with a side of love as well.
And that's why you're there, because in every dark space, let's call it, there's light, and you are that light in that space.
Hmm.
There's no mistake.
And we all can be, though.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, all it requires is a decision.
Is awareness, is willingness, and choice.
Yeah.
And then taking the action to do it. That's our part, right? That's our participation.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about when, you've been on that path, you've embodied it, and then you hit a snag, or you get back into your old ways. Yeah. Has that happened to you? Because I'm human. I find I can go forward 3 steps and take another 10 backwards. Yeah. And so it's a process.
Yes. That has never happened to me.
No.
Today. No. Yes, that happens. It's going to happen. It's part of it. So here's the thing to remember. It's not about perfection. It's not about like, okay, now I'm reaching this balanced state. I'm always going to be peaceful or joyful. We're in a human body. We're having a human experience. That's okay. What it is, can I allow the whole, when we return to healing and wholeness, that means I'm available for all of it. I just don't live in the space of anger. I just don't live in the space of resentment or fear. But I allow everything to come into my experience.
We all can hit a moment where we're like, oh, this is the old me that's taken over in my head right now.
It's going to happen every day. Like it will, to varying degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I think allows us to see our progress, if you will, not that it's a goal or competition, but when we respond to something differently than we would have in the past, and we're like, oh, something's changed, something's been healed here. So that might be in your relationship. You all of a sudden find yourself responding differently to your husband than you would have in the past, because he's left his socks here, whatever, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's a different response.
Yeah.
Or to your kids, or to colleagues, or to the people in the grocery store lineup. Like, that's when we really see, oh, there's the alchemy happening.
The shift, the growth. Yeah.
And sure, we're not always going to be our best selves. We're going to act out. We're going to go unconscious. And then, are we going to beat ourselves up over it? Or are we going to come from a compassionate heart and say, oh, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start fresh now.
Yeah.
And the contrast isn't bad. Contrast isn't a negative thing. Sometimes the contrast inside of ourselves, so like, oh, wow, look at the reaction I just had. That wasn't who I really want to be.
Yeah, I think it's an invitation, right? It's an invitation to go deeper. Like, okay, if I'm having this really strong, like, feeling, like, let's sit with it.
Yeah.
Step into it. Be curious about it. Yeah. you just took the words right out of my mouth. But it also, I think for me, it brings up the question of discernment as well. Because I think we're living in a time right now where there's an influx of information and content being thrown at us, especially in the spiritual world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you have to be really careful where you're taking your information and your guidance from.
Yes.
Are you seeing that? Because I feel like there are some people that are stepping into the spiritual world for the business part of it. Mm-hmm. What would you say to people about discernment and navigating this world?
Yeah, I think we're going to be drawn to a vibration that we resonate with. So in a way, the universe takes care of itself. And we're always going to get what we need. And yes, I agree 100% that discernment, not just following someone because they have a lot of followers mm-hmm. or are popular, or I have been involved with very powerful spiritual teachers who have been completely out of integrity. And I've had very interesting experiences for another day, another podcast perhaps. So just because someone demonstrates even spiritual powers, great followings, great things. I think we've seen it enough now through all sorts of levels of society that we do need to discern for ourselves and look at what part of me is attracted to this. Is it the teacher? Is it the teachings? Is it what's being promised?
Is it the facade?
Is it the facade?
Is it the aesthetic? Because I see a lot of that as well. And I'm like,
unfortunately, I think that's true. Unfortunately, I think that happens a lot. And I've heard and seen behind the scenes for some very like world-renowned spiritual teachers. And it's shocking, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like we need to walk our talk the best that we can. And if someone is promising you that they are the thing, and that they know the way and it's this way and the only way, I would run the other way.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I kind of live by the motto that everyone is my teacher, that life is my teacher, mm-hmm. and I have many teachers. Yeah. I don't have one that I put on a pedestal, and I don't put any human being on a pedestal.
Well, and that's great discernment, and that's great self-worth and self-knowing. I unfortunately did not have that inner strength and wherewithal at the beginning of my spiritual path. Mm. And so I think that's great to see that and to know that, because not everyone has good intentions. Mm-hmm. And if you're human, you have blind spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I would just encourage everyone to tap into that feeling, that discernment, that moment where you're like, something doesn't add up. The words don't match the energy. Mm-hmm. It's your first tell.
Yeah. And it can be hard to tell sometimes. Some people are very convincing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, some people are. I mean, I can always sniff them out though. Or at least I like to think so. So from an Ayurvedic standpoint, what do the teachings tell us about connection to self and how to restore it and how to use the wisdom of it?
Mm-hmm. The first thing that I learned when I began studying Ayurveda that literally brought me to tears was that the primordial cause of all disease is forgetting our true nature as spirit. So we forget every day that we are supported, that we live in this beautiful universe, that this is a miracle, this body. And Ayurveda says that this entire existence is made up of the 5 elements. So we have earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And so those 5 elements make up every single cell of our body. They're involved in our whole being. And we divide up those 5 elements into 3 primary constitutions or doshas. So we have vata, pitta, and kapha. Vata is essentially air and ether. It's very light, mobile, changeable. We have pitta, which is fire, a little bit of water. So it's very hot and spicy and
Fiery, yeah.
And then we have kapha, which is earth and water. And so, you mix earth and water together. It's muddy, it's heavy, it's slower, it's cool. So with these three main constitutional types, and everyone is going to have their own makeup of those 5 elements. And I like to think of it in ratios because of our Western mind is really like, but if you have a ratio of each of those 5 elements, you got that ratio that is the perfect version of you at conception. So it's like your Ayurvedic, energetic DNA, your blueprint's there. But we are born and we grow up and we go through stress in our childhood and our teenage years and our adulthood. All sorts of things happen. Our parents aren't necessarily feeding us an Ayurvedic diet. Like, we're just living.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was our original constitution, let's say here, we start to get a little bit skewed. So that ratio of, say, let's just say for argument's sake, 20% earth, 10% water, 30% fire, etc., that starts to get distorted because maybe we're eating a lot of cophagenic foods. That would be things like ice cream and fried foods and heavy things. And maybe we're staying up late at night to do those things. And our Agni, our digestive fire, isn't processing the food. So we go out of balance a little bit. And then, now I got irregular bowel movements, digestive problems. Oh, now my menstrual cycle's out of whack and I've got this rash. And we start to have these little things that are usually mild and transient. People ignore them. But eventually those mild and transient symptoms will go into the general circulation, land up in we call it kavaigunya, or defective space, a weak area of the body, and that will proliferate into dis-ease if not rectified, if we don't come back. Mm-hmm. So being in alignment with who we're actually here to be is crucial for our physical health and for our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being.
Is it important, going back to the term ratio, is it important to know what your ratios are?
Well, so as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I think, everyone should know.
Because I'm curious. I'm like, how do I find out? I don't know. I'm pretty spacey. I might be 50% air.
And then it gets more nuanced because we have our original constitution, which we call Prakriti, and then we have our current state. The current state is Vikruti. And so our original state, if we were in harmony, it would look like this, but it's not. So we're not always in harmony. Mm-hmm. And this is when people go to do their own little dosha quiz. They fill it out from like, I'm overweight and I'm this, and they start filling it out, but it's skewed already because they don't have the skill or the discernment to understand what the original state is and what the current state is.
Got it.
So those are two different things. Mm-hmm. And the more out of balance, let's say you are, or one is, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to come back to the original state.
Okay. So if someone wanted to explore this a little bit further, is that something they could do with you, or how would they be able to find those answers?
Yeah, if someone was really interested in Ayurveda and understanding their constitution and how to create a lifestyle, food, mental, emotional components, even the way we exercise, the times of day we exercise, all of these things, Ayurveda is looking at the rhythms of nature. It's looking at circadian science. It's looking at all of these levels of our existence. We do not avoid the emotions and the mind. Those are huge parts of our health and well-being. So I offer Ayurvedic consultations where we look at everything. We're not compartmentalizing what's the problem? I have a problem here. I have a problem here. It's like, no, we need to step back, look at the whole picture, and even track back, when did this imbalance begin? Mm-hmm. What is the root cause? And I'm most interested in, whether it's my energy healing work I do with people, mentorship, Ayurveda, what's the root cause of imbalance? Mm-hmm. What's that seed of disturbance that got planted? And often it was when we were younger, some form of, I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, and that we believe into that and create whole strategies of essentially survival. Mm-hmm. That might look like being a pleaser. That might look like being over accommodating or self betrayal or being the rebel, whatever our strategies are, to essentially try to find a sense of belonging, love, or safety.
Yeah. And yeah, it's, you hear a lot about, or I guess what that ends up looking like is pain and suffering for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're at an interesting time right now where there are a lot of people awakening at once. Are you noticing that as well? Because I ask that because I feel sometimes I'm like, maybe it's just the people I'm talking to. Maybe it's just what my interest is. Obviously, you're tapped into this community as well. But, I've heard a lot about the Great Awakening. I've been hearing about it for years. And now I'm like, are we in it? Are we in it right now?
Yeah, we're in it. I think we're coming to the end of that Kali Yuga, which is this time period that goes on for thousands of years. The Kali Yuga is the time of darkness. And after that, it's like the darkest before the dawn. We come into the golden age. We come into that age of awakening. We come into that age. And this is cyclical. We're not the first humans to ever experience these cycles. It's a very potent time. It's a very exciting time to be on the planet.
It's a time to alchemize.
It's a time to alchemize. It's a time where, of course, the darkness is going to appear very dark. And that contrast is actually welcoming and inviting us to rise up, to say we can't stay quiet any longer. Those of us who are on a spiritual path and who are committed and devoted to this work, we have to bring these conversations. We have to talk about it. We have to come together. We have to remember who we actually are.
Yeah, I think I hear a lot of people worried, oh my gosh, this is going to be the end of the world. Things are coming to an end. And then I'm like, there is a bit of truth to that. We are coming to an end, but that doesn't mean something more beautiful won't take its place. That doesn't mean that, or what I believe it means is something better is emerging, something more harmonious for all humans.
Yeah, and it's like a forest fire, right? That's a natural part of nature when it is a natural part of nature. But that forest cleanses itself to restore itself. And in the same way, we are very similar in our human consciousness, because remember, each of our individual consciousness plugs in and plays into the collective. And so as we continue to notice our inner narrative and be kind and loving to ourselves, that gets outputted. That energy does matter. You sending love through the screen to the millions of people matters. That energy is important because it translates into our experience collectively. So yeah, it's shifting. And we have to keep the faith. And we have to know, yeah, this is the contrast, the darkness is what's calling us forward. We don't need to be afraid of it. We don't need to fight against it. We need to stand strong in the light. Come together.
Step into the light. And that will look different for every person.
Yes. And if we are at war inside of our own mind, criticizing ourselves, thinking we're not good enough, how do we expect there not to be war out there? This experience is an extension of our thoughts. So clean up individually. If people want to know, how do I can't change the world. You can change your own consciousness, and that will change the world. I really believe that.
I believe it as well. I think, one thing I like to say is like, the micro changes lead to macro shifts, right? It's the small little individual daily habits that create the whole.
Yes.
And when we can tune into those little micro moments and fine tune them or be aware of them, that leads to growth in the long term. And I think that growth ends up being, I don't like the word contagious because I think there's something negative about it, but what's the word that you would use? I guess it does become contagious.
I think contagious is great.
Yeah.
It's when we're using, like, let it be contagious.
Let it be contagious.
let the joy be contagious. Let the peace be contagious. Like,
yeah.
If only, right? Like, that would be the best outcome possible if it was contagious.
And I feel like a big part, and maybe you can speak to whether you feel the same way as well, is I feel like a big part of this awakening that we are going to be going through as a species also means the rebalancing of masculine and feminine energies. And I would love, love, love to see more women step into their power, because I think that is, we're seeing it. We've been seeing it for years, but we need more women to stand in their truth.
Yes.
And men as well.
Yes.
But how do you believe that's important?
I believe that's important for each of us to, again, coming back to Ayurveda, to be who we came here to be. And I don't believe we came here to feel diminished, to be quiet in the back lines, to feel not good enough. We didn't come here for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
We came here to experience this human adventure. And those archetypes of the masculine and feminine energies, that is the sun and the moon frequencies inside of us, to harmonize those each, whether we're male, female, however we identify, we have masculine and feminine energies, and they get to be, I don't know if this is the correct word or the word I like, but purified. We get to, this is what yoga teaches us, to purify those channels of
Mm-hmm.
the Ida and Pingala,
Mm-hmm.
the sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for women to stop perpetuating the narrative that we've been sold, that we should just be pleasing, we should be accommodating, we should just, sit and be quiet, and all of that outdated paradigm, like, ugh, thank you very much. No thanks. We're done.
I saw this video on social media of, it was a lion and a lioness, and the lioness was protecting her cub, and the lioness smacked that big lion right in the face. And I was like, that's feminine power. Not to say that needs to happen, but feminine power is not necessarily submissive. I think this idea of femininity that we've been sold in North American culture has been from a male lens.
Yes.
So when we reclaim it for ourselves and realize that all of it is us and is encouraged and is part of us, you don't have to shun that part of you.
Yeah.
That it's important to let it out, because maybe there's other women out there, but for me, I've feeling this quiet feminine rage boiling up inside of me with so many of the things happening in the world right now. And maybe there's a time where I will speak more openly about that. But I think that everybody needs to use their voice, like you said, in a way that feels true to them.
Yes.
So if there's something you feel called to speak about, please do it.
Yes. I agree 100%. And to normalize women's intelligence, women's power, women's rage, like that it seems that the stereotype for it's okay for boys and then men to be angry and rageful, but for a woman to experience those things, that of course we're going to have anger and rage, but even as a little person, okay, women, you're allowed to cry, men are allowed to cry. Like there's all of these conditioning that we get distorted right from the get-go, men and women.
Completely.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So to do the inner work to bring us back to knowing who am I?
Yeah.
What is my personal power? Not power over power to myself, power in myself. And to live from that place, and what it takes to actually live from that place of conviction, of faith, I think that's the extension of our spiritual practice.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's inspiring, because I think that when you're able to get to that place and act from that your core essence, I think things start opening up for you. You are able to attract opportunities and, I guess invitations maybe that you never expected, because you're finally in the flow.
Yeah. And it opens up the channels in the body and our energy field.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, then opportunities, the people, we align, we resonate, we find the people that we connect with, we feel more supported.
Mm-hmm.
We're all of a sudden in the right rooms, we're in the places that buoy us up.
Mm-hmm.
It is energy.
Yeah. It takes trust. Takes a little bit of trust, but I think it's definitely so worth it.
And it takes women taking risks, financial risks, emotional risks, physical risks that women have been taught to kind of just sit down and shut up, stay quiet, stay small. We need to normalize taking those leaps when it feels like spirit is activating us and inviting us into something.
Yeah. Yeah. I would liken it to like when you feel that fire in your belly, that's like, whether it's a positive a thing or a negative thing, I think you got to act on it.
Yes.
And, you know, I had many people even within my own circle. I don't want to say, you know, who they are, but, that advised me against even doing this.
Yes.
That, you know, and I had cold feet even launching it, like to be seen for who you are, to allow yourself to be out there and be possibly judged,
Right,
can be a terrifying thing. But life is too short not to. This is why I'm here.
Yes. And the hilarious thing is we're being judged anyway.
Exactly.
Like, people are judging us right now.
Exactly.
People are judging every day on the news.
Oh yeah. And I guess maybe I'm fairly comfortable with that. It's like, I really don't care. Like I you know, my feelings can get hurt from time to time, but, it's not going to stop me from doing what I feel like I need to do. Yeah.
That's the fire.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
That's the alchemy of the rage into the action of here's my voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I shared with you, I think often about my ancestors, and, I feel them with me and their strength with me when I tape any episode of Sacred Space, because I know how hard they worked and how many sacrifices they made to give me this life.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm taking that baton from them and I'm gonna take it over the finish line.
Yes. Like they are just like so in awe and celebrating you. They're just like, yes, look at her go.
And I think I wish that for everyone. You know, we can all connect with our ancestors. We can all connect with our guides and call on them for guidance, for assistance. And we're not in this alone.
No, it can feel like that sometimes. And it's not true.
What keeps you hopeful right now?
I think what keeps me hopeful is that I've been through enough personal initiations, I call them challenges, hardship, and I've always come out stronger. And so when I see that in the world, that we're globally going through an initiation, I believe also that we will come out stronger, more love, more joy, more connection. So I think the hope is the faith that we came here for this time. We chose to be on the earth at this time, moving through these experiences. And there's nothing wrong here. There's things that are hugely uncomfortable. There's injustices, yes, but there's nothing inherently wrong, if that makes sense.
Well, I think it's just the idea of the fact that we attach judgment to anything, right? And I think if we can look at it from a neutral perspective, then we can not attach a judgment to it. Is that what you mean?
Well, and say, what if this is here for me? So if something's going on in somebody's life that's very challenging, what if this is here for me? Or globally, what if this is here for us? How could that be so? How could it be so that this might be for my highest and best good? Even if I don't like it, we don't have to like it. It's not about spiritual bypassing and just painting, oh, everything's fine. No, it's not.
Yeah.
There's like a lot that's really not. And everything has its purpose. And the work that we get to do is raise our consciousness, and everything looks different from a different vantage point. If we're in a victimized vantage point, we're going to need more evidence that we're a victim. If we move outside of victimization, then we can see that there is an experience unfolding and that we get to be part of the solution, so to speak, we get to be part of the ones who bring the joy, who bring the peace, who bring the love, who reorient the balance and the harmony on this planet.
Mm-hmm. I often think of this thought that, let me rephrase that. I believe that there's no one coming to save us, that we are here to essentially save ourselves. So if we see a better way forward, let's create it.
Yeah. We are creators.
Exactly. We have the power, we have the capability. We just need to take action.
Yeah.
And I think that there are enough good-hearted, brilliant people. And if enough of us come together and decide a different way forward, and that happens, communally around the world, I feel like that's how this new earth will emerge and how it is emerging.
Yeah. And I think also no one's coming to save us because we don't need saving.
Mm.
We have everything within us to create heaven on earth inside of, again, starting in our own consciousness and then bringing that externally. If we have a more loving inner narrative, of course, we're going to be more loving to those around us. Of course, we're going to make better decisions that support the whole, whether that's the environment, political, monetary. So the inner alchemization of our own consciousness is the key to everything and is the key to really stewarding forward this new paradigm and this new energy. Well, not new energy, but the attention to that energy, the actualization of living from a different place on this planet. It's all available to us. We just have to choose it.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to create it, so to speak. We just have to choose it. It's already in existence.
Yeah. I was, one of my spiritual teachers that I like to take learnings from is Eckhart Tolle. And, one of the things that he talked about at a recent retreat that I was at is that, some people can spend their whole lives trying to become awakened, but for some it can happen in a matter of minutes. There's no trajectory, there's no right way to do it, and so I leave that there just for the idea that we can all make our own progress in our own time. There's no particular timeline.
Yeah, I agree. We're not ahead or behind. We're just exactly where we need to be.
You shared a lot about your pathway into spirituality and as a young woman. Is there a message that you would have liked to share with your younger self now that you know everything that you know now?
I would tell her that I love her. I would tell her that she is going to go through things that she can't even fathom, that she will endure. Yeah, like that's what I would tell her. I would tell her that she's going to be okay and that life loves her and that she needs to prioritize herself and stop being a fucking pleaser. I think that's what I would really tell her, is like that. No more of betraying her own desires and needs and knowing that she does know, that she can trust herself and that she is supported, that the universe loves her.
Beautiful. I think it's a message we can all take to our younger selves. Melanie, this has been such a beautiful conversation. So many beautiful pieces of wisdom that you've shared with us today. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us. And I would also like to ask if I know you do have different retreats that you have coming up and different ways that you like to connect with people. What are some of the offerings that you have around the corner?
Yeah, so I have spiritual mentorship, either one-on-one or in small group containers, that is coming up for enrollment. I have a journey to Peru in December for those adventurous who are really seeking a spiritual pilgrimage. And then also Costa Rica in the new year. And then I have ongoing workshops and offerings via my website and social media. But people are welcome to reach out to me that way if they want to get in touch, or Ayurvedic consultations, as we spoke about before.
All right. Well, Thank you so much for sharing with me, with everyone that's listening today, and for opening up your heart and being that bright light that so many people look to right now.
Thank you. And thank you for following your heart and creating a space for these conversations. I feel very honored. Thank
Thank you.
you.